Thank you very much, and you'll see we've been joined in the studio by Shelly Woods. Great to have you with us, and of course bronze medalist from London 2012, fourth place in Beijing as well, Beth Tweddle, who were both listening in intently there, seeing the athletes out there. Does it stir memories from your own parade back in 2012?
Yeah, I mean, I could understand why people were coming to watch us compete, but actually to just come and see us being paraded around London, and people had banners, there were school children there. I mean, my next door neighbours, they literally picked their kids up from school and said, we're going to London, we've got to be a part of this. And I mean, you can see the people here today, they're just so excited to celebrate that success in
Somebody's doing a roaring trade in gold bowler hats as well out there, because yes lads, they look very, very impressive indeed, and making their way home from school, it would seem, Shelley, to make sure they take in the atmosphere here. But it's a great idea as well to have this parade in Manchester and take the Olympic Roadshow and Paralympic Roadshow out there into the whole of the nation.
Most definitely. The atmosphere today is fantastic. You know, it's great to see everybody celebrating, the performances of our athletes, and you know that they were all supporting while they were all competing, and it's just great to see it all. It's fantastic.
And you know what's really interesting is when you're out there, somewhere like Rio or out in Beijing, when you're away from home, you kind of don't know what's going on, do you? You have no idea. Are people buying into this? Are they enjoying it? Are they supporting it?
Exactly, and that's the great chance now for the athletes to thank the public as well for the support they've had, and to realise that whilst they were competing out in Rio, the whole nation was willing them on to win the medals.
Absolutely, and they get a chance today to come and see their heroes up close, and that parade will be taking place over the next hour or so. The floats will be jam-packed with Olympians and Paralympians, and Andrew Cotter can tell us how things are going down there at the start.
I can tell you the officials.
Well, it's great to see the crowds are coming out, because we've had a bit of rain. It is Manchester after all Saturday, but the sun is coming out, and there's a New Order tribute band going on behind us as well, and the musical variety is going to be plentiful. Beth, it was interesting to hear what Rebecca was saying there about anonymity and how that belief spreads through a team. And I read a wonderful quote from Niall Wilson the other day saying, this next 4 years is so important because I'm going for gold now, because he's seen what's possible with Max Whitlock, and they all saw what was possible because of you, and obviously Lewis as well. So that is what it's about, isn't it? It's sending that belief through a sport, through a team.
I mean, I think if you've got younger gymnasts looking up to the older ones and thinking, I've got a role model, if they can do it, then I can do it. And quite often the junior national team, they're training alongside the national team, whether it's at the national centre or in their own personal clubs. They can kind of look at them and think it's just down to hard work and determination that they've achieved those medals. So Niall came in as the sort of junior member of that team, having got the experience of Lewis and Max, and saw what they achieved and thought, actually, I can go one better or two better than myself in Tokyo.
And what they then spread through younger, even younger gymnasts, the 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds, they just look and think, Great Britain win medals on the world stage. That's what happens, and that's what happened in cycling, and you were very close to the vanguard of that, Chris.
Yeah, and also it helps the older athletes too, I think, because you get young athletes coming into the team, pushing for places, and in a way it inspires the older athletes to work even harder just to keep their place in the team.
And some of those older athletes, Hannah Cockcroft, she has incredible experience, goes one better then, and then 3 gold medals this time.
Yeah, it was a fantastic performance, and it just shows as well in Paralympic sport, the depth of talent now. You've got people fighting for that place on the team, and it's fantastic, and we did so well, so yeah.
Beautiful rendition of, I think it's Elbow coming up behind us there.
Good spot.
Yeah. Good listening. Yeah. Actually, I hope you can hear me, because it's incredibly loud, the PA system here. We're kind of fighting against it at the moment, but it's because the atmosphere out there is already like a party, and this is where they're all going to end up in about, just over an hour's time. Becky, what an inspiration she is, because she had 18 months, didn't she, of injury and illness, and things were really, really touch and go whether she would ever make those kind of heights again in the sport.
Yeah, she had a fantastic season post-London. She didn't make the Olympics in London, but she had an amazing year in 2013, double world champion, 4 medals at the World Championships, and then she had this horrendous period where she got ill, she had injuries, off the bike for months and months on end, and to see her bounce back and to win 2 silver medals at the Olympic Games, that was one of the highlights for me personally, to see that happen. We all expect the team pursuit for men and women to do well, and Laura Trott and Jason Kenny, but I think to see Becky performed so well was a real highlight.
Okay, I heard Philip Hines this morning on the radio talking about the challenges of coming back, and not so much the challenges of coming back and having a break, but then the challenge of getting back into training, and that for him happens, he says, next week or so, a couple of weeks' time. That must be a big shock to the system when all this party dies down and the interviews start to kind of fade away a bit and the muscles have to start working again and the lungs.
It's tough, but it's in many ways you're craving it because you've come from this routine and this kind of structured lifestyle where for a few days, a few weeks even, it's fantastic to be able to let off some steam. But in many ways you crave that, or I personally crave that routine, and most of the athletes do. And I think getting back into some kind of structure is quite good. The difficulty is having some real motivation for training. What are you training for next? How can you get yourself back to work as hard as you need to continue winning medals?
Having those goals, I know for you after Beijing, you would have been quite within your rights at the age you were to have said that was a fantastic career, but you obviously set your sights very much on the Olympic medal, because that 4-year cycle would have been tough, wouldn't it, without that goal?
Yeah, I mean, I came home from Beijing, and to come fourth, yes, it was an amazing achievement, but it wasn't what I wanted, and I was disappointed. I was devastated. I didn't know, could I put myself through another 4 years of the hard work and determination, but I think the one thing that really kept me going was my coach. I was able to have that relationship with her and take step-by-step goals, so I just kept working every 6 months to a Europeans, to a World Championships, but London 2012 was always in the back of my mind. I think for all of us older athletes, it was kind of, we can't give up on that dream of an Olympics in our own country. I mean, you see the crowds here today, but in London it was just insane.
If you're fit enough, if you're well enough, if you're strong enough, Shelley, then you go, okay, I've tasted it now and I want a bit more. And that these days are the ones as well that you have to, I suppose, draw on occasionally in that 4-year cycle to get you through those dark, cold mornings and those achy limbs.
Yeah, most definitely. When you commit to that 4-year cycle, like, day in, day out, rain or shine, cold mornings, and you for me as well, that you can't rest. Your rivals are training just as hard as you, and you've got to be the best that you can be. So you have to draw on that motivation, whatever it is, to be the best you can be.
Absolutely, and out there on the streets, I think that's why people come out, because they get a sense, they have an understanding now of what it takes and the sacrifices. I use that word perhaps ill-advisedly, because I know when you're in the midst of it, you don't necessarily feel it's a sacrifice, it's what you really want to do. But you do miss out on family occasions, holidays, normal everyday activity that we take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many great moments in Rio which belong to people who were, let's say, a little bit older than the norm in winning medals. And Nick Skelton was one of those great moments where you think, if at first you don't succeed, keep going, keep trying, keep pushing. And eventually he got there. And there are a few women who've won medals over the age of 40 as well. All I'm thinking is, you say you're retired, but, there's always a great comeback to be had.
Make us feel bad now. I think Kath Granger was one who I was very impressed with. Not that she's that old, but in terms of her longevity and the way that she came back. I think it was 18 months, 2 years out of the sport after London. I didn't think she'd make it back into elite level.
It was touch and go even 6 weeks before, wasn't it, when the boats were decided, and to go through that mental agony of waiting to find out. I remember seeing her down at Caversham a week before the teams were going to be announced, and her experience actually, I think, helped her get through that psychological journey, if you like, over those few weeks.
She'd seen a few highs and lows through her career, and that was just one more challenge to overcome, and she did it, and it was incredible. A silver medal. I don't think she's going to go on to Tokyo. She might, you never know. But, I think to achieve what she's done in her career, that is one of the standout performances for me.
Well, certain sports lend themselves, don't they, to more longevity than others. And gymnastics is one that is brutal on the body and notoriously sees its top performers retire before most people have left school, Beth.
It does. I think gymnastics has changed massively over the past few years. I think now there are quite a few more gymnasts that are staying past the age of 20. And I think you were talking about it with the experience. With obviously the age, you get that experience. It took me 3 Olympic Games to finally achieve that medal, but actually each Olympic Games, each World Championships, Europeans, you're picking up every little bit of experience, taking it into that next competition, and it can be that can sort of give you that edge over your competitors. Yes, they can train for longer hours or do more numbers, especially in gymnastics, but I had to train a lot more clever, but when it came to competing, I had that sort of mental edge over them.
and experience and that maturity, which you can't buy, you can't rush, can you? That only can come from the hours in the saddle, the hours in the gym, the hours in the chair, pushing hard, whatever it is that gets you to the top.
Yeah, and it just shows what that belief does for you as well, with that experience and what you can achieve, and that if you've got that drive still, then, you know, keep going. And I know athletics is a young person's sport, from my point of view, but as well, wheelchair racing, you can go on it quite a lot longer. Like, look at David Weir, he was nearly 38 this time, and I think Tanni Gray-Thompson went on till she was in her mid-30s, so yeah, if you can do it, then fantastic.
Well, we've heard from Anne Dickinson who's knocking on the door of 50 and Nick Skelton knocking on the door of 60, so I think really there's plenty of time for you to choose some new sports should you decide. I'll let you peruse through the options today maybe and come back to you on that one a little bit later. Let's get back out there though, because the atmosphere is certainly building here in Albert Square. How's it out there, Andrew? Has just come down, hasn't it? And behind us here in the studio, the brollies are up. They're well prepared anyway. Who brought the brollies? I haven't, Chris Hoy, have you?
Well, I was coming in and it was sunshine about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and I was thinking I should have brought my sunglasses, but yeah, seems like a poor choice now.
Well, we have had 4 seasons in one day, so we might get sunshine yet. We shall see. When the guys there were talking about Jessica Ennis-Hill and you know, retirement and making this perhaps, you know, this is the swan song if you're not going to come back from, you know, from your Olympic experience to compete again. It's knowing when, you know, when the right time is, knowing when your body's had enough can be just as tough, can't it, as making that decision to keep going.
I think it's tougher in certain sports that aren't quite as measurable. So for cycling, it's very much data driven. We're very much led by numbers. So you can see when you're peaking and you're plateauing and you're dropping off. So for me, it wasn't so much a choice. It was more just the data was pointing that way. But for other sports where it's about skill more, it's about experience, tactics, I think it can be harder.
Yeah, and also, we've also heard the guys talking about funding of sports, and that makes a difference, doesn't it? If you can carry on because you're funded, because not everybody up there, the 400 on the stage, are going to be earning a lot of money outside of the lottery funding that they get, and that can be the bare minimum to keep going.
Yeah, the funding is a huge difference, and it makes such a difference to your training and what you can do, and the support team that you get around you. I know from an athlete's point of view that the support you get, it's not just the money, you get the nutritionists, the coaches, the physios, everything. And it's that one big team that helps to your success, and yeah.
Well, we're just literally hearing the rain coming down behind us here, almost biblical proportions. They're all still smiling out there, though. Well done, guys, because that's not particularly pleasant as a spectator sport, Beth Tweddle, is it, out there?
It's not, but it just shows how proud they are of the Team GB athletes. They will have seen the weather forecast, and I was the same as Chris. I was coming in with my sunglasses on thinking this is going to be an amazing evening for the athletes, but it won't dampen the spirits. They're so proud of them. They just want to be out there and celebrate with them. And we couldn't do it when we were in Rio. You could see all the athletes. They were kind of in a bubble. They didn't really realise what they had achieved. And I remember sort of speaking to some of the gymnasts. When they got off the plane in Heathrow, when they flew home, they just kind of went, oh, wow, like, this is the support we've had. And it's just been crazy for them.
Well, it's very wet waltz for Ore. Let's talk about those medals though out there, because you can see that the ribbons are getting drenched, and it's a good way of working out that it's pretty good quality. You know, if the paint's not coming off them in this weather, I guess.
Well, there's a risk as well. You know, the medal itself, of course, is metal, but the ribbon, if you get it wet, I found it the hard way back in 2004 after Athens. I went to do an event at a primary school, and it was about the importance of drinking water. And the photographer for the big picture, all these kids had these bottles of water, and he got them to throw the bottles of water over me for the picture. But my medal got absolutely soaked, the ribbon. The primary school teacher took it and put it under a hand dryer, and it came back. And it was like, you lie it down now, and it's kind of like a wiggly, it's not like a straight line. So
did she feel bad about that?
I think she was a little bit embarrassed, but it was fine. It's got character now, you know. So yeah, that's a word of warning to the
it's
current
a good job you've got a few more, isn't it?
Well, you know, I had the motivation to go out and win some more. Yeah, exactly.
Is your medal safe? Is it somewhere very secure?
It is. I keep it at home, but on the Olympic parade in London, we were sat waiting outside Buckingham Palace for all the speeches, and I had it on my knee, and someone shouted at me. I just stood up, and I dropped it on the floor, and I was devastated because it's got big big dent in it now, and I was nearly crying. I was like, what am I going to do? But actually now it's got its own little story, and because it was on that special day at the parade, it's kind of like, that's my medal.
It's the medal equivalent of smile lines, isn't it? You know, every medal tells a story.
Exactly. It's got character.
Well, you can hear it behind us on the stage there. Helen Skelton and Mark Chapman are getting the crowd ready because very shortly, and they've got good see-through brollies as well there, because